let's start, right? As you know, right, Playwright has its own test runner, right? Test runner is something like something, right, which is like a controlling mind, right, which controls everything in your execution. So you already have an inbuilt Playwright test runner, right, which does all the stuff, right? When I say test runner, it manages itself, right? It manages its workers, right? It takes care of the browsers, right? You do not have to do anything with it. Just install it using those libraries and you will get all the stuff. The parallel execution, right? You do not have to do anything about it. Just set some configuration values which you will park it here, right? And then all of this will come into the picture and do your execution seamlessly. Your reporting part, right? Reporting again is handled by this test runner only, right? So all of these capabilities are inbuilt. If you compare it to Selenium, you will have to build all of this by yourself. Okay, right. So this is, let's call it as an engine. Okay, let's call it as an engine. This is an engine which will do all the stuff. Now let's first understand like what are layers we have to deal with. We are going to use page object model. We know what is page object model. I'll describe that it again, but let's, for the time being, let's understand that what we'll do is we'll create some multiple layers. One of the layers would be page layer, right? Page layer, which is your page object model. Okay. Now this will take what it will translate your UI page into an object. Okay, that is what you're primarily doing, and that object or the class will have the locators of those pages and the operations which you could do on that page, right? So that is what is called as page object model, and you will do it for all the pages on which you have to work. Straightforward, right? Second thing which you need is a data layer. Data layer, here you will have two different data layers, one an input layer and second would be an output layer. Again, right, let's say you want to feed some data, you want to use username and credentials. So they have to, it's not that you will directly fill them, right? You will directly fill them inside your test scripts. No, what you will do is you will first collect them into your data layer and then push it, right, from that data layer to your test script, from where the data would go into the page object model, and from that page object model it will go to the UI, right? Similarly, on the output side, if you want to collect some data from the UI, right, you will collect it from the UI. You will you will just not start consuming it like this. No, what you will do is you will translate them into a data object, okay, and you will form those classes, right, which will match to that the kind of an expected output which you expect, right, from extracting the data from the screen. Okay, and then you will use it, right, for your next purposes. So one is page layer, second is data layer, then there was a test layer, right, where you will write your test cases, right? And one layer is pending is like, okay, so you took the data, you passed it to the page object model, it executed on the UI, and then UX also extracted some data, right? And now you have an actual data from the screen. Now what you need is you need another layer which is called verification layer to verify, to put your assertions, right, expected and actual, right? So these are the four layers, right, which you will try to build. There's a fifth layer called reporting, but again, as you know, right, this is very easy in Playwright. You don't have to do anything with it. You do not need to create something. You just need to configure it. Okay. So if I create again a layer, let's say call it as a configuration layer, right? The configuration is your backbone, right? What you configure here accordingly, Playwright will function, right? If I create another layer, let's say you need one more thing, right? You need a browser. So for having the browsers, you know that Playwright has its own three browsers: Chromium, Firefox, and that WebKit. But again, to have them, you will have to first install them on your system by running some command. Okay, so you will do this. Or if you want to work on Chrome or Firefox, uh, the 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 ones, right, which are being used in the by you and me, right? If you want to use those ones, the branded ones, then you will have to install them by yourself. Okay, so you need this browser thing with you, right? And below that you need what, you are running it, you are running your Playwright thing on what, like on what language you're running it on? TypeScript, right? So TypeScript is just a wrapper on Playwright. So first of all, you need TypeScript to be there, right, with you, right? So you need to install it as we have done in our day one, right, of it. Then you need JavaScript, right? For JavaScript, because ultimately it is JavaScript which runs. For JavaScript to run, right, you need Node.js and npm, right? So you need all of this, and here, right, you will also need Playwright as a library, right? That npx thing which we do. So if you see, these are the different layers which are involved, right? Not primarily for the framework. Framework layers are these, right? But if I tell you, these are something, right, which are working behind the scene to make your framework work. So you should be knowing about, right, what is the role of each one of them. Now, if I have to build the framework just to show you like how things will look like, let's open a new board and just let me try to draw it if I can. Let's understand the process. Today, the objective is just to explain you the architecture and start designing our page object model. Okay, that is my objective. And if once, because that is the okay, why it is, yeah, here it is. Right. So let's start designing it. So first of all, I would say, right, what we need is we need the test engine. Okay, we need the test engine from Playwright. We need test engine. So Playwright test engine. Okay, this, consider it like a brain, right, which is sitting coming from Playwright. Okay, now what you need a configuration file. You need your configurations, right? Let's say whether it is at the configuration level, whether it's at a test level, whether it is at a spec level, right? So we have different layers there, right? So you will have to have a configuration layer. After the configuration, right, what you will have is you will start creating, let's say you will have test cases, right? From the configuration, you define which projects to run. So let me write here, right? So you will define here, right, which projects to run, or I should let's consider that project part here only, right? You will define projects here, right? And then what you need is you need test layer, right? Test layer means your test specs, all the test specs which you are going to create. Now on this test spec, right, what you will have after this, you will have now if you open your spec layer, what you will see is you will be seeing that, okay, that there is a test case which needs to be executed. And if you look at the body of the test case, there you would be consuming your page object model layer, right? So they will be interacting with the page object model. So page object model layer, right? So if I show you this, it works like this. Okay, it works like this. Now for the page object model to work, right, it would be consuming some data, right, from, let's say, from an external source, like let's say your JSON files. I'm going to use JSON as my data source to feed the data to the framework. So we have this data source, input data source, right? Let's say, and for to read this, right, I will create some utilities, right? So there would be a utility thing, right? So what should I say? Utility, right? Let's draw utility to read data from JSON, right? And then pass it not directly to the POM. It will be going through your data layer, right? Input data layer, DAO layer, right? So we're going to create DAO layer, and using the DAO layer, you will feed the data to the POM. Now POM will do what? POM will do the execution on the UI, right? And once you do the assertion, the all the execution, right, you might want to extract some data from the UI again, right? Now while you do so, you will not just store it like this. You will again have a DAO layer, but it would be an output layer, right? An output layer. So, and it will be like it will be creating some objects and filling some data within it, so that your whatever you want to do after that, right, is like consistent, and it's not as per your wish, right? I mean, it's not like anyone comes in and tries to do something with the data. No, it has to be a consistent approach. So we have an output DAO layer. Now what is happening is you need what? Let's throw it like this. You will have a verification layer. Okay, to mark your test case pass or fail. So it would be a verification layer. Now for the verification layer, what it will do is it will take the data from here, from your output DAO. It will take the data from the input layer. It will do the comparisons of this input and output, right? And then accordingly it will report, right? It will do the reporting. And that is how your framework will look like. Okay, I mean, in a nutshell, I'm just trying to explain you like how things will look like. So what are the important layers? Verification layer, DAO layers, right? These two, input and output, and the POM layer. and then you have a test layer, right? Like this. So you should be understanding who is interacting with whom, right? And how things are flowing. And that's like your architecture, right? And it's a similar architecture what we have in WebDriver. Parallel execution, you do not have to worry because it is all controlled through this engine, right? Engine here. It has all the brain, right? Otherwise, again, if I start showing you the uh, let's say the Selenium framework, it would be much more complex because there you don't have to think of a lot of things. I mean, there you have to think of a lot of things, and not in this case. Okay, let's understand our page object model, how we are going to create on Playwright. Let's also open our website. Yeah, no, please.
Akhil, what was that step after the JSON input?
This is utility, right? You will create some utilities, right?
Utilities, okay.
Right, to read data from JSON, right? So that you can read from JSON and pass it to an object over here,
Okay.
right?
So maybe here in this DAO, we will be doing the serialization and deserialization of.
Right. It's
Okay.
not serialization. It's that serialization would be happening here, right?
Yeah.
This
Okay.
utility, right, will pick up the data and feed it into a data DAO object, right? That is what the object is. That serialization or deserialization is happening through this utility only.
Here. Okay. Okay.
Yes, Hassan, please.
Akhil, what is DAO?
DAO is data access object.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so it is like you let's say you have this one, right? Let's say you have this screen of login and you need some data, right? Email and password, right? Let's say I ask you to do the automation. What you will do is, let's say you will say, okay, Akhil, I don't need a layer. I will just directly fill the data in my page model. I will say, no, that's not the correct approach. What you should do is you should create a class just for this layer, right? Data layer, email and password, right? And it will have only two properties within it, which are what? This email and username, this email and password. And it will have a constructor where someone can pass in the data to it, and that data can be picked and assigned to these values. That is called the DAO layer.
A DAO layer is the page object model.
No, page object model is different.
DAO is specifically for data for data
Right.
container content.
Just to handle data.
Okay, and
And you
you
will,
want similar to page object model, DAO layer it should also have layer like logging layer, like it should be
right. We will see, right? We'll see. It will be on a need basis. It's not that every page is going to have a DAO layer, right?
Mhm.
It would be on a need basis. If you need it, right, you will create it. If it is not required on that specific page, you will not do that.
Okay.
Okay.
And how about the output layer? Like you have the input, right? The data you need for the logging, right?
Uh,
And then a DAO layer for output. So what would be the output of that layer? So we logged in,
let's
and
let's
then we're gonna. Mhm.
let's expect that you logged in here, right? And after logging in, you want to validate the username of the person who logged in, right? For that, you will do what? You will go to the accounts page and try to see the name displayed over there, right? So
Right.
what will happen there is you will create a DAO output layer, right? And create a class with that one variable, which is your username, right? And leave it blank. What you will do is you will read the data from the screen. You will extract the data from the screen through page.locator get attribute text or whatever that value is, right? You will grab it and then push it to the DAO layer, right? To the output DAO. Now what you will do is now your input DAO has some information, output DAO has some information.
Okay.
Input DAO might have 10 inputs and DAO might have one input, right? You want to compare now, right? You want to validate whether my test case passed or failed. You will do what? You will extract the information from the input DAO and the output DAO. If the object can be compared as is, you will use it. If not, what you will do is you will just extract one information from it which needs to be compared. Make a comparison in your verification layer, which is the another layer to be which will be introduced, and there the comparison would be made. Okay.
Okay.
Again, this is same as WebDriver.io. I am not we are not discussing anything new. We have discussed all this in WebDriver.io also. Okay, so we already have a framework ready over there. So if anyone has a doubt, because it will take some time to develop all the things in Playwright, but we already have it on WebDriver.io. Okay, page object model, right? So if you see, right, this is your application. Again we have discussed this discussion. We have already had this discussion in WebDriver.io. I'm doing it again for the people who are involved with Playwright. Okay, so if you see this, right, we have a login screen. So this is one screen. Let's go here. Let's look at the different screens we have. Pages, right, on the UI. So we have first have the login screen, which looks like this. This is the login screen. You have a box and you have a submit button. If you click on it, it results into another page, which is what? Let's log in.
Home page.
Home page, right? So this is what you do. So click on it, it lands you on the home page. So this is a different page, right? It's a different page. Now, one of the ways to identify that it's a different page is you can also check the URL of it, right? When you were on the login page, the URL was demo.evershop.io account login. Here, when you logged in, right, this is the URL which is being shown. Now here you can see that there are a lot of locators, lot of locators, and there are a lot of operations which you can do. You can click here, you can click here, you can click here, you can extract some information here. You could go into the top menu, right? Click on the search icon, this card icon, accounts button, and all this, right? And this icon here, right, which will land up you on the home page again, which is this same page. So there are a lot of buttons there, right? So depending on your need, right, you will create your layer accordingly, right? But again, this is a different page. Now let's move to the next page. So if you see, let's click on shop page. This is the third page, right, which shows something like this. So this is the home page, right, where you had some information and you have 3 buttons, right? And there was a header and a footer section, right? So this was the header and this was the footer section. Now let's open the third page. Let's say you clicked here, right? If you click here, here, or here, right, the page which you see, right, is almost same. Okay, it's almost same. So it is like it can result into 3 different pages. One could be related to kids, one could be related to men, and the third could be women. But if you see, right, all 3 pages are almost same. So this is same, right? So this is this one. So this is the woman one, and if you see the men's, right, this is what it would look like, right? And you can reach here, right, by if you click here, right, shop woman page will open, men page will open. But what I want to focus here is the layout of the page. It is same, right? It is not different. It's just that depending on what you have chosen, right, the page will open up. Now what you could also do here is you could create a layer, right, an abstract layer, and from there, right, you could connect these 3, right? What you will do is you will create the maximum of your logic here only, okay, in this, and these would be like the child of this page. So what you can say is that after you click on it, right, on any of these buttons, it lands up here, right? And I mean, it will land up in these pages, but these pages, you can do what, just to avoid your effort, you can keep the things in a single class, then create the childs of that class, and maybe just keep the sections, right, in these classes specifically, which are really meant only for these pages. As of now, that is not the case. If you see, all 3 pages have different functionalities. What is changing? Just the URL. Okay, so maybe you can just have the URL being mentioned in these pages, right? If you create a class for women and all, right, you will just use a method called go to here and just give women, men, and kid. Rest of the information, right, might come from this page, from this class. Okay, so you can follow this pattern also for this particular page. Now if you go back, click on home. Okay, it is not clicking on home, right? Here, right? If you see now, if you would have clicked here, right, on the article directly like this, it would have landed up on a product page. This is your product page, right, which tells you, which gives you the information about the product. So let me create, right, let me create the product page. This is the product page. Now how did you land up here? You landed up here because there were some links being displayed, right? If you click on it, you will end up here, right, on this page. Or if you were on these pages, right, here also there are a lot of links, products, right, being displayed. So if you would have clicked here, right, again it would have landed up here. Now you might say, Akhil, that if you check the URL of this page, it will change, right? It will automatically change every time depending on which product you are selecting. If let's go back, if you go to the women section, right, if you click on this, see the page, right, it says woman and this one, but see the layout of the page, it's the same, right? So I am categorizing all these different products. If you click any of them, they will end up on this page, right? So for me, this is a product page. There are different ways to reach here. and depending on how did you reach there, your URL might be different. Okay, your URL might be different. So here we will have to see like whether taking URL as an approach is a good thing or not. But if you look at the layout, this means that this is the same page. Okay, just the text and the information is different. Okay, so right, so from any of these pages you can land up here, right, like this. Okay, if you would also notice, right, all these pages, either the product page or the earlier page, right, like woman and when, right, you will see that all these pages have the header section and all of them has the footer section, right, like this, visa and all this, right. So if I click again, right, let's go back to, let's say, woman here. If you see, right, again the header section is here, the footer section is here, right. So it's the same across all the different pages. So what I would also suggest is create a separate page object model for the header section. Create a separate page for the footer section if you need, right? And just consume them under these different pages so that you don't have to write the logic again and again in separate pages. The point of creating page object model is to simplify things, right? And have like one place change. Okay. So you will have to first understand your application. How does the application functions and how the control is moving from one page to another, right? So if we go back, let's click here, right? If you click here, this is your product page. Now from the product page, what you can do, you can select a product, right? Let's also, right, and you will say add to cart. Once you do add to cart, right, the page changes and your cart page opens up, right? So this is the cart page. So if there's a button called add to cart, if you click on it, you will end up here, the cart page. Okay. Now on the cart page, okay, there are other ways to reach here. What are the other ways? In the header section, if you see, there is a cart icon, right, being displayed. Sorry, right, this cart icon. So if you are on the home page, it is there. If you are there on, let's say, on this shop woman, there is a cart icon, right? So it exists on all the pages. So you can, so if you click from here on the in the header section, right, then also you will reach from here. And this header section is existing on all the different pages, right? So it makes sense to have a separate page model for just for this cart, right? So now you landed up on the cart. On the cart, what you can do is, if you click here, it will show you the information and you can go to the checkout screen, right? So let's say checkout. If you click on checkout, this is the checkout screen, right? URL changes and the layout of the page changes. So it's definitely a different page. So checkout page. Checkout page. Now to reach to checkout page, right, it has to come through cart. You cannot reach directly via clicking on any other button. But there is always an option to directly access checkout through the URL. You can just say /checkout and it will open up, right? But from the UI, if you go through the manual process of from clicking on the UI, then it has to come from cart page. Now you're on the checkout screen, right? And on this screen, you will do what? You will do continue to payment and all. Let's do this. India, not India. Let's say United States, province. Let's fill the value. Let's fill something here. Let's fill something here. Continue to payment. Telephone number. Okay, province I have to select Alaska and continue. And you can see, right, once I did this, there's a shipping method involved, but it's the same page. No difference, right? If you click on continue to payment, we have to select this. If I change this, right, what happens? You can see, right, something is the page got rendered. It did not rendered. It recalculated the page, right, and just shown this section over here. If you see, the page is same /checkout. There is no difference. Just this section of the page got updated. Now you will click on, let's say, cash on delivery. My address is this. Place order, and once you do it, now the page will change. So now this is your, let's say, success page. So from the checkout, right, where will you end up? You will end to success page. And again, the way to reach here is from checkout only, manually. Now these are the different pages, right, which you have to deal with. And what are the other pages? If you click on continue shopping, it will move back where? To the home page. If you click on continue to shopping, it will map continue to shopping. It will move you back it will move you to this page again, right? You can
Home page.
the home page, right? This one. Now on this, now these are the different pages which are involved, but there are some other pages. Let's say account page. If you click on it, it opens a different page called accounts. So to reach here is through this link only, okay? And it shows you the information about the products you would have taken up earlier, or let's say these details, right? So if I have to draw it, let me draw it separately somewhere here, right? Accounts page, and you can land up here from this button. Okay.
But
What
that
else?
from home page, like a separate journey starting from home page, right? We can connect it to that also.
You can do it on in any of these pages. So all the pages have that button, right? And since it's a part of header section, so I'm not showing it on the pages. But
Okay.
since header exists on all the pages, it is self-explanatory then, right?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now, what is the other thing? So account is there, right? If you, so these are the different pages, right? What else you have? You have two more pages. If you go to the login screen again, which are what? Create an account and forgot your password. So create an account. If you open, right, this is the page which opens up, right? Account register. So you can create an account and all that, do that, right? So let me create account. And this comes from this link, right? Let's say create account, right? So this is how the flow would be. Now there is a forgot password also, right? So if you click this, it will open a forgot password link. Right? Reset password. So these are all the pages, right, available on this application. And that's why people say that just jumping directly into automation will not help. Why? Because if you see, right, if you have to design the framework, then you need to know about your manual flow, right, of the application. Right? People should not depend on others to tell them, right, okay, go and you do this kind of a step, or this is how the navigation would be. You should be capable enough to understand that or get that information from someone, and then become self-reliant, right? And then think of the design. Getting the point? So people who gets into a debate on LinkedIn that okay, what is best, or is manual going away? Again, that's a very silly kind of a discussion which people keep on doing. But try to understand, right? Automation is there to help you in testing, right? It is not saying that that it has came here to, let's say, leave manual people jobless. No, that's not the case. Rather, it's like we want those people to be adapted, right? So that they have the capability of manual, and they can build up the capability of automation and use their power of manual testing, and then become successful in automation also. And then they will have the power of both the world. Whatever comes, right, they can just pick it up and drive it. In today's world, what happens is you are a single person, you are given the responsibility of a feature, right? So it is your responsibility to test it end to end. How do you do it? It's up to you. You want to save some time, use automation. But again, people would be reaching out to you if something goes wrong, right? So it's your responsibility to make sure that you are using the best resources to test that kind of that feature, and you understand it well. Okay. So again, uh, don't get into that mindset or something that okay, I have learned automation, so I should be only doing automation. No, until unless you know about manual flow, right, of your application, you can't be a good automation engineer. You need to know the depth of all these things. Currently you are looking from the UI view, right, which is like a black box. You do not know, you do not understand as of now, like if I make a click here, right, how does internally or on the browser things are happening, which is making or resulting into the navigation of this page into this. Now, once you start thinking from that perspective, you are now trying to jump into the developer's shoes. Okay. And that is where you should try to reach. Okay. Until unless you try to understand everything, right, around, you will feel like that you are suffering, right? You're still suffering in the industry. Okay. So try to think of everything, right? It might be out of the topic, but try to understand, right? What I'm saying to everyone is to have a very successful career, please follow. You should be knowing your manual thing, right? How things are flowing, right? The UI flow, how it works, what are the different cases and all, you should be knowing. But once you understand this, you should be knowing how to automate this. Great. Very good. After this, right, then you should be also understanding that on the UI, when things are happening, how the interaction is happening. So this is your UI layer. you made a click. What is happening in the backend? What what has been fired from the network call, right, on the backend? Or did the call went to the backend or not? Maybe there is some JavaScript code running in the browser itself, right, which is making changes on the UI. So in that case, no API would be fired, because browser, right, already has the JavaScript code within it, right? Now on the backend, right, okay, if the application, if it has received something here, right, how it process and does it connect to database to get you that information, right? So that's the third layer also involved. But when you talk about UI automation, you're working on this layer only, right? So your focus is here only. But as a person, as a QA engineer, your, I would say, right, your responsibility is that you understand this part also. Where did the request went? What did it do behind the scenes, right? And once you understand all this, then go to the architecture level. That go into the infra level, infrastructure and the architecture level. This is a part of architecture for sure, that how, what, that you are using a 3-tier application or what, right? And people can tell you what it is. But when it comes to infra, when I mean infra, is that it is very simple to say that it's a UI, backend and database. But to create a backend, right, you might be using 10 different components. You are using Kafka, you are using, let's say, Tomcat, you are using something else, right? On the UI, you are using React, right? So how, where is your React server? Is it a separate server, right? Is it the same server and all, right? So try to get into this level, right? If you are here, try to be here. If you are here, try to be here. If you are here, then this is your ultimate thing, right? And if you are here, right, you can think of becoming a QA architect. But before that, I don't think can anyone be here, okay? But it has to be a process. It has to be a sequential process. I mean, I thought to share with you, right? Because we discuss all this, but this is where you will be able to make your career very solid. Okay, if you are here, right, you are an asset to the company, or at least to yourself also, right? You are like, you are someone then who can just decide his own career, right? Okay, I don't want to work here, I want to work somewhere else. Great. You have that confidence that if I go somewhere else, right, and I showcase my knowledge and I would appear for the interviews, I would be able to correct them because I understand the fundamentals of things, right? Again, for infrastructure, there is an AWS to learn, there is a Docker to learn, right? There is like these, at least I'm not saying that become an expert in React, but try to understand what is React, what are the different frameworks which developers might be using in the backend, how the things are interacting, how the API layer works, right? Understand that, how the database is formed, right? How the interaction of database happens. Can't it talk directly to the UI? If not, why? So try to understand from that perspective also. Okay, great. So let's not deviate. I'll not deviate further. Let's now try to create. But I hope, right, you understand the page object model, right? What I will do now is, these are the different pages involved. I'm not going to create page object model for all the pages. No, I'm going to create the page object models, right, or the objects for the pages which I would be flowing through, right? And that is how you should be also doing. Your application might be having 100 pages, right? But what is your scenario? Your scenario, when you do an end-to-end scenario of your test case, let's say that test case involves only 5 pages, right? Then if that is the case, right, then it is not for you to design the 95 different pages also. No, you should be focusing on those 5 pages and try to have them there, but do it with all attention and try to understand that it should be scalable and it should be able to maintainable, right? Okay, so let's take some examples and try to create our page object model in Playwright. So let's take the first case, which is your home page. So if I go to the home page, this is how it looks like, right? Let's draw it out. Let's create a page here. Let me delete this. Okay, so here, right, page object model, and I'm going to create it for the login page. Now this is your page, right, login page. This is your buttons here, right? And I'm interested in these buttons only. Let's say I'm not interested in forgot password and all, right? So again, your page might be having 50 features. Are you interested? Does your use case covers all 50? No. whatever it covers, right? Just cover those portions, okay? Because it's not your responsibility to create the entire framework until and unless that responsibility is given to you. If you have the responsibility to create a test case, then you should be focusing on that only, right? Do not overdo, right? Do not do the over, what do you say, right? Do not overfeed, right? Whatever is necessary, do that only. Okay, great. So if I have to design it, what I will do is I have to create a page model for I mean I want to translate this UI page into an object. And that is what page object model is. How I'll do is I'll create a class here. I'll create a class called login form. Okay. Now since we are using Playwright, so we'll talk in terms of that only, right? We will first have a constructor here, right? Constructor. Now constructor is used for what in JavaScript? To assign the values to your instance variables, right? So you can create instance variables here, right? You can say, let's say, what would be your instance variables? All your locators which you want to interact on this login page, right, would become your instance variables, right? So what are those? Let's say username, password, and submit button. So you will create three variables. You will create three variables. Let's say submit button, username, and password. Okay, just the variables. You are not going to assign the value. And what would the type of these three? Locator. Locator. Now, when someone, okay, when does the constructor gets called? It gets called when someone creates the object of this class, right? And who would be doing it? It would be done in your test spec file. Let's say end-to-end spec.ts. You have a test case, test, right? And you are executing this, right? And inside this, you will do what? You will say login form, right? You would import this class. You are exporting this from here, export default. You will be importing it here. Login form, and here you would be creating an object of this new login form. As soon as you do the constructor call here, right, at this line, what will happen? It will go and call this constructor, right? And that is where these value I want to assign. What I will do is in this constructor is I will say submit button equals to what? Now if you see, right, I need access to one thing, which is what? Your page. Page is like refers to your tab, right, on which the execution is happening. Who creates this page? Tell me. Who creates this page? Where does the page gets created? It gets created here, right? Yes or no?
What was the question again? Like,
My question is, let's say if I have to give the, let's find the locator of submit. Let's say submit locator looks like this. It's a button with @type equals to submit, correct? This is your XPath for the submit button. What you do, you provide it in the locator thing here, right?
yes.
So you will feed it here. Now, if you see, right, I am saying page.locator equals to this, right, submit button. So this variable is getting the value of this locator, right, over here. But I am
Correct.
using page. What is page? Tell me first.
Picture.
Is a fixture. Who provides you the fixture? Where do you get the fixture? You get the fixture inside the test, right?
Inside. Yeah. Okay.
Here, right?
Yeah.
This is a different page. This is a different class altogether. This is a different file altogether, right? It is login form.ts file. It is end-to-end spec.ts file. These are two different files. I need access to this page. It's not that I can create a fixture here of page. No, that is not how things works. Fixtures can be injected into your test only, right? Over here.
Okay.
Getting
Correct.
it? So what will happen here is, so this is where the fixture gets added, right? Like here page. And this page does what? It opens the browser, right, for you, and a tab on it, this one. And this is where your execution is happening, correct? So this page is referring to this tab, right? On your Chrome browser, let's say, or any other browser. Right? Again, I hope it is clear. No, Kiran?
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Okay. So this is clear, right? So what you need, right? If you are working on this login form, you need access to the same page, right? How will you do it? You will do what? Rather than calling it here, right? You will call new login form here, over here, and do what? And this will do what? It will call the constructor call. You will do what? You will say page equals to page. And here, right, what we'll do is you will just pass this object of page here. Getting it? Now what happens? Your constructor gets called of login form and it has the reference to the page which is referring to this browser, right? And now since you have the access to this tab, right, you can do anything. Page.locator, page.locator.get value and all that. So now what will happen is the first learning here is you will create a constructor and accept a page attribute, a page variable. And who will pass it? It will be passed from the test case which you are currently executing, right? So that it can do the execution on the same page, not on a new page. So you will assign submit button, you will do it for the username, password, right? And your constructor is done. Now this is where your initialization is done. You got the reference to the page, you got your locators, all things. Now what are the operations? I want to fill the username and password. What you will do is you will create two methods. You create a method called fill username, and you will need input, right? You will need an input of the username text, which is your string, right? Now again that would be coming from your test layer, right? From your test layer. From here you will do what? You would have created the object of the login form, let's say LP. So you will do what? LP dot fill username, and within it, right, you will provide, let's say, Akhil. Now who will provide Akhil? My input DAO layer. So I will write the code afterwards, but since we are discussing about form, I'm not taking into consideration, right? So fill username, so it would be a method here, and it will do what? It will take this username which will have page dot locator, let's say input name equals to email. This is the locator, right? And you will do what here? Username, this dot username dot fill, and fill you will provide what? Username, whatever you're providing here. And this is how your method would be formed. Similarly, you will have for password, and you will have for clicking on submit. And this is what your form will look like. And so what are the things which you have to understand in your page model, right? You have to create instance variables for your locators. Okay, this is the first point. Second point, in the constructor call, right, you will accept page object so that you get the reference to the page on which the execution is currently happening, and using that page only you will get access to the locators, right? So you will do all of this. The third, you will have methods, right, which is to, for every action which you want to take on the UI, you will have separate methods, represents actions. The fourth thing, what you will do is you will also have a go-to method. Let's say you will have a method in the login form. Let's say what I should say, go-to or some other method. What should I say? I'm forgetting what we say here. Let's say go-to method only right now, right? So this will do what? If you want to directly open this page, right, here inside this method, right, you will have a method called where you will be saying page dot go to, right, and give the URL directly, whatever URL you might be having. Okay, go to is done, and then you have to also think from the perspective, like if you made a click on submit, right, the next page opens up is what? Home page, right? So there has to be that method chaining which needs to be made possible. So method chaining has to be there, and with method chaining, page chaining will also be being used. These two I'll show you once we start designing it, but these are the things, right, which your page object model class should be following, right, as a practice, all your classes, right? One last thing before we jump into the practical part of it, what I will do is, if you see, right, all these pages, there is one thing common. What is that thing common? The URL, right? That you might like to open this page directly through the URL, right? So every page object model which I will create, right, for these different pages will have a function called go to, right? So what I'll do is, instead of creating that method in all the pages, I will create a super class called let's say base page, right? This will be a class, and this is like the super parent of all these pages, and each one of them, right, would be inheriting from this page, right? So what does it mean? It means that everyone will get that go to method. Okay, so I don't have it now. Currently, go to is the only thing which I have. There is couple of more things. Even the header and the footer section, right, which I created here, I'll create the reference of this object in this base page only. Why? Because with this, right, I will not have to refer them, right, or create the instance of these headers and footers separately on all the pages. No, what I will happen is I will create the go to method, this reference to the header page. Let's say new header here, right, or new footer here, right. I'll have the reference to them, and they are available. And since this class is inherited by all the different pages, they automatically become available in all the pages. Once we design everything right, it will get clear. But we have done the similar stuff in WebDev.io. Okay. Okay. Let's start our page model. This is our class, right? What I will do is let me close all this. Let us delete all this here. Move to recycle bin. I will copy these things, right? So, okay, what is our structure, right? I do not need this test example, so I'm deleting it now. Let me first create a branch for today. Git. I hope I have pushed the yesterday's changes. Let's see, git status. Git ignore node modules. Why it is saying untracked file node modules? Oh, did I clear git ignore? Are yaar, shit. Sorry, my bad. I did git ignore also. Okay. Where is it? Source control. File. Where is my git control, right? I need to revert this, discard changes, restore file. So I have it back. Yeah. Okay. Let me run it again. Git status. You see, right? My branch is clean. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll just remove this test example. Oh, let me first create a branch. Git checkout -b day 22, I believe. Yes. And let's delete this folder. I don't need this. Hit done. And I have created these global setup and global teardown. Let it be there. And this is the Playwright config, right, which we have. What we'll do is from today onwards, let's make some changes. We wanted to have this base URL, okay, which is at this level. My URL is not this. My URL is what? Sorry, not pod test. My URL is this. So this is my base URL. Okay, fine. Trace, I'm disabling it. Video, I'm disabling it. Screenshot, I'm enabling. Okay. So for every test case, it will take a screenshot. And for the projects level, right, what I will do is I don't need 3 different setups here. I will remove all of them. Chromium, let me keep this one first. Chromium one. Setup project. I am using this setup or what? Tear down project. Okay, let it be here only. Setup and all this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Chrome only, desktop Chrome, and base URL, since I have already specified above, I am not going to specify here. And test match, right? Now test match, I should not be saying test match here. Let's remove this. Okay, let's remove this, and I will do what? I will go above, and here we have a test match, right? Now in the, I will not use test match any now on, right? I will not use it. What I will use it, this test directory. Okay, this test directory. Now in the test directory, if you see, this is the folder which I have. I'm going to create a new folder here. Let's say new folder. Let's say old or archived. Let's say archived file, right? Which is mean that these are not useful for me, and I don't want to use them. So I will just place them in. Move. Okay, so all these are gone. Now on the test level, I will start creating my framework architecture. Okay, my framework folders here. The first folder which I will create here is the page object model, right, which we are talking about. The second thing which I will create here is the uh, specs. Okay, specs layer, which will contain all my test cases. Then I will have my DAO layer, which I will create afterwards. But within the DAO, right, I will have two folders. One would be an input DAO, and second would be output DAO. Okay. What I will do after this is we'll have at this level we will create one more folder called verification, or you can call it like assertion layer also. Uh, let's call it as assertion layer only then. Assertion. Okay. Assertion layer, assertion DAO POM specs. I think this is it, right? This is it what we want. Now let's go to the specs where our test case will reside. We'll create a new file and we'll create a file called, let's say, end-to-end spec.ts. Okay, spec.ts. Now if you see, right, my spec file would be residing here, right, inside the tests, inside the specs. So what I'll do is, this is the test directory. What does it say? Directory that will be recursively scanned for test files defaults to the directory of the configuration file, right? Now my test file, my tests are residing not directly in the test, but they're residing in the specs. So what I'll do is I'll get specs here. Now what Playwright will do is, once it starts running the code, right, it will look into the test directory and see all the files whatever it has and try to run them. What I will also do is, as of now, just for our purpose, I will not I'm reducing my workers to only one in any of the cases, so that at max only one worker can start parallelly. What I will do is, fully parallelly I was setting to true, I will setting it as false. Okay. Global timeout I have set to this. Timeout is this 200 seconds. This is for your test case, right? Test case. So we'll change if we see somewhere else. And what we have more, reporter we used is HTML. This is the base URL. Headless we have set to false. If you want to run things in headless mode, set it to true. And these are the projects. I will be using a project called, I will be using Chrome. Okay, Chrome desktop. Chrome, it uses this one or this one. We use this one, right? Chrome brand browser. This one we use. Okay, dependencies, test match, tear down. I do not need any of this. Let's remove this. So this is what. Okay, so this is the project which I'll use. Let me say that instead of creating a big name, I'll say Chrome test. Okay. Similarly, I wanted to have for the Firefox. So these are the Firefox ones. Let me enable them. So this will be using what? This will be using the browser provided by Playwright. Okay, so we have got WebKit, we got Firefox, and for the Chrome, we have the one, right, which is provided by the Playwright. But I would not be using this one, or this one, but I have enabled them because tomorrow if I have to do the cross-browser testing, so I should have the options. I'm going to use Chrome test, but it was using desktop Chrome, channel Chrome. Okay, I've set it to Chrome, right? So both are same, right? So what I'll do is, let me remove this. So this is the same part. Other things were the dependency which I created as a project. Now they will of no use. I don't want to run them. Let's just comment them out. Okay, let's just see. Chromium. No, I don't need Chromium. I don't need setup project. I do not need teardown project. Fine. Okay, so this is our spec file, how it looks like. Okay, we have a layer for expect also. Okay, we'll talk about it afterwards. Right, let's go to our spec level. In the spec, how do you write a test case? You write test, you give the thing, right? Let's import thing, right? View problem, quick fix. We have a quick fix. Let's take this. We have to use Playwright test, right? This one. We got this. Great. So let's write our first test case, and it would be let's say login. Let's just say login. Okay. You will do what? You will create this. You will async page and this, right? So this is your test case now. Now what you do, let us look at our test case. If I have to fill the username and password here, right? What was the code which I've been using till now? The code look like this. Let us find our this file onto the side. We will have it somewhere here, right? Somewhere I would have logged in. Let me just check. Okay. Okay, seems like I'll have to write it. Well, no worries, I'll write it down. Let's close this. So this is await page dot go to. I will say await page dot locator, and the this is input and name equals email. Yeah, Anand, please go ahead.
Actually, we have defined the base URL, then still we need to go.
No, you don't need actually. You can remove it. You can just leave it to this part. But okay, what base URL did we define? Just a second. I
Demo
forgot
ever
about it.
setup.
No, you're right. You're right. We said demo evershop.io, right? So we'll use that demo, and what we'll do is we'll follow this path. This only, okay?
Okay.
What it will take is it will take that base URL from there, append this after that. Okay. After web.io, it will look into this, it will get this base URL, it will pick it up and then append this and then hit the URL. Okay. Now here, let's fill it very quickly. flgda@gmail.com. Next is await page dot locator, and we'll say input name equals to password, and we'll say fill password here. So I'm showing you the way which is the row form, right? You're not using any pattern or anything. If you have to automate, this is how you will write, right? And await page dot locator. If I remember correctly, it will be button type equals to submit dot click. Okay, just give me a sec. Someone in the door. I'll be back. Okay, yeah, let's start. Okay, so this is how you will write. Okay, and this will result into what? After you do this, you will end up on, and let's say I want to do what I want to. So let me fill it, right? So what you're doing, you're hitting the URL like this. It gets hit. After this, you will fill the username. Let's say AkhilJDA, and then the password, and you will say click and sign in, right? Once you do right, then the next objective which you have is, let's say you want to click here. Okay, you want to, let's say, click on the shop kits. Okay, or let's say you want to click on this button, right? Let us find this very quickly. Where is it? This is here. A Nike Infinity Run, right? Let us find this. Nike Infinity Run. A tag uh, contains at the rate href. So there are two. Okay, why are there two? One, this is the one which I need. Which is the other one? The image. Okay, so we are talking about this one. It has to be under this one. Product name. So I'll do what? I'll say under the div tag. Will it work? No. So I'll have to say contains, let's say, @class this value, right? 1 of 1. So this is the XPath for it, and this represents what this represents, this link, right? Okay, let's copy this up, get to our code. So what I want to do after I'm done with the click, I want to say await page dot locator, and this I will just set this here, and I will say dot click, right? Now let me do some segregation here. If you see, this is your login page. So all these things are happening in the login page. Over here, if you go right, this is happening on your home page. How did you land it up on the home page? Once you made a click here. So there would be some navigation, right? There would be some transition happening. And what is the transition? Transition is that from the home page, you are moving to, sorry, from the login page, you're moving to the home page, right? This is the transition. Now for this transition itself, right, you need page chaining. Okay, page chaining. We'll talk about it, right? We'll talk about this part. Now, again, I'm repeating, right? We have done all this earlier with WebDriver.io. Since we are talking about Playwright again, so this should be like a brush up, right, on those concepts. Okay, so let's go back. Now let's learn. So this is one way of writing your script. Someone asked you to automate this, you did this, and then you asked someone to review. He said, okay, he outright rejected this. Okay, said, okay, no, you have not learned automation. Do it with a framework. You show him this and say this is a framework. He will just put it into a garbage and say, okay, no, keep it with you. I don't need this. What you need to do here is you will have to do something like this. You will have to go to the form. Okay. Now, if you can see right now, how many pages can you see are getting interacted here right now as per my scope? 2, right?
2 pages.
Right, home page and the login page. What I'll do is I'll simply create 2 files as of now. I'll say login form dot ts. Okay, login dot form dot ts. You can do this also, or you can let's not do this thing. Let's say login form. Okay, login form. So you did this, and I'll create one more file. I'll say it as home form. Form dot ts. Great. Now let's go to the login form. I'll create a class first. I'll create, and again I will make it. I will export it by default, the complete class, and it will be login form. And here, right now, what I'll do is on the login form, I'll first create a constructor. Right? Okay. In the constructor, so constructor, I told you, right? You will create for what? Okay, first of all, let's talk about the instance variables. What all instance variables I should create here? Any suggestion? Talking about login page, and this is what your login page.
Email, password, and
Submit
button.
Right. So let's go out here first. Right, email, password, and submit, because these are the elements which you would like to talk or use from this page, right? There are other elements also. You can see there are a lot of elements. This breadcrumb, this icon, these 2 things. But as of now, this is not in my scope, so I will not automate them, or I will not write the code for it. Okay, and I'm telling you, right, this is the reality, right? Do not try to cover things which are not meant for you. Okay, this is I'm telling from my personal experience. Do not try to automate everything. Only automate what is expected. Right. So email. Let's come here and let's create the instance variables. How do you create instance variables? You will just say, I will create it as public, let's say, or private, let's say private. And what we'll do is we'll give a name. So this is the username, right? Username text box, let's say. Okay, text box. And what is the type of this text box? It would be a locator type, because it will be holding a locator, right? Now, if you see, it does not know about locator. Who knows about locator? Playwright. So you will have to import this. Now this is done, but it has not received a value, right? It has not received a value. Okay, why it is saying this? Because I did not create a new one. What is Let's place it here. It will be passport text box. Passport text box. Okay. I think it is complaining for a value to be there. Okay. So what I can do is, as of now, I can make it null. Or locator cannot be null and I cannot assign it. So there is another thing which I could do is I could make it as, I think read only will do the job. Just a second. Uh, read only. It needs a value for this also. Okay, let me think.
Any error when I am doing this.
Hmm. Expected this for this. And if I create a read only public, okay, it will need a value. Okay, then we'll do what? We will not use this approach. What we'll do is we will directly assign the variables inside the constructor. Okay, let's see. What I'll do is I'll say here this dot username text box equals to, okay, we need to assign a value, right, to this. What we'll do? How do you assign a, so this username text box, right? It's like you are doing something like this. You are doing something like this. You want to assign this locator, right, to that username. So let me copy this out, come to the login page, and I will write it like this. Now you see, right, you have a problem. It says I don't know what is page. What is page? It has to come from the constructor here, right? You will say page is a type of page. Okay, so this is solved. Now this is a problem. It says what is page now? I understand it's a variable and the type of this is page. But what is page? For that you will have to import it, right, from the library. Great. Right? So this is just the, it is just telling, right, that you have to import this to consume it here. Great. But page, who will provide the value of page? This test spec. We'll talk about, right? But now this problem is solved. Okay. We will remove this from here. I don't need this. Okay. Username. Property does not exist on type login form. Okay. Am I doing something wrong? Just a second. Username text box has to be this only, right? Why it says this? Locator. Will it work if I don't? I have to provide comma here.
I'm not getting any error when I'm doing this.
Oh, I am. It has to be semicolon, right? I am providing a comma.
Yeah.
That is a problem. Okay. So I'm making it as private. Okay, private, and these are available here, right? So this is one thing. Similarly, you will do what? You will say this dot password, and again for this you will do what? You will go there, copy this out, and pick it up and place it here. Now tell me, am I writing it correctly? Do you think that there should be something else also here? If you see this, right, page dot locator, I'm not using await here, right? Do you think it is correct, or is it not correct?
No, I think the locator don't need a wait because
Evaluation time you will be needing it.
they,
As you
they
can see, right, locator is not returning your promise.
right.
So, and what does it also means is that when you write this, right, it does not go on the net to find the locator. No,
Yeah.
as we have read about it, what happens is whenever you take some action on a locator, right, at that point of time it goes and find the locator at that point of time, right? So because of this, right, Playwright is able to forego with the stale element issues, right? Because every time you want to work on some element, it will go and find that element again on that point of time, right? So this is how it has to be. Now the last part, the submit button. So we'll collect this also. Let's pick it up and have it here. And for before that, we'll create a private submit button. It would be of locator type. Great. So submit button with this dot submit button equals to this. Okay, so we are good with this. So we have the instance variables which defines our variables. This is our constructor call. Here we need someone needs to provide the page element, right? The page object. Who will provide this test spec? But okay, we'll talk about it. Now we have the locators and the constructor done. Now we have to create methods. Let us first create the first method, which is the goto method, which I was saying. So for doing that, what I will do is I will say void, let's say not void, uh, go to method. Okay, and I'm going to create it as a public method. Public method go to, and what it will do is uh, it should return. Okay, let's forget about that part. Let's say this one. So here, what it should do is we want to work. Okay, one more thing. If you see right here, if I have to also write the code, right, it has to come from this page only, right? Page dot go to, right? Something like this should come, right? To accesses. Now, how would you get access to the page? Page is here, right? If you go by the JavaScript rule, you can still use this dot page. Will you get the access? No, you're not getting it. You have to create a variable here. So what I'll do is I'll create a variable called page like this. Okay. And here inside this, I will also assign the value to this page from here, which is this page. Getting the point? Now what I'm doing is this page, right, will be assigned a value from whatever is received from the constructor. And the same page, right, is being used. You can just be very specific. You can say this dot page, this dot page, and this dot page, right? And now I want to open the URL, right, of this thing. What is the URL? URL was this one, right? Account login. Pick this up, place it here, and we are good. Okay, one method, the URL, accessing the URL. The second method, let's say I want to fill the username, right? So I'll create a method called public fill username. Okay, fill username. Now to fill the username, you need to do what? You need the access to that locator, right? To that locator. Now, okay, one more thing. You are doing a navigation here, right? You're doing a navigation, so it will be a async operation, right? So what you do is you will say async here and await here. Again, this is again going to be an async operation. So async here and await here. And here what we'll do is we'll say this dot username text box, right? So it will access this, and then you will say fill, and someone will provide you some value, right? Let's say username. It would be a type of string. You will pick this up and feed in here, and you're done. Okay. Okay, fine. Let's fill password. Fill password, and here it will be password. We'll be using this dot password here. Password. This password is coming here, and we are good. And the last is submit button. Submit button, right? So we'll say click submit. Public async. Click submit. Here you don't need to accept any input. You will say await this dot submit button dot click. Okay, so you did all this, great. So we have converted everything here, right? And once you make a click, right? Once you make a click, it will end up on the next page, which is here, right? Which is here. So let's start changing this. What I will do first of all is I am exporting this out, right? I'm exporting this login form. I will have to import this. Let me come here and try to create the object of it directly, and I will have the option to login form. Quick fix, add import. Yes, you got it, right? Login form. Since it's a default export, so writing in this way will work. Now you want to have a variable, right? I'll create a variable outside. I'll call the variable, or let's create the variable inside only, right? Let login form equals to this. So you got the value, and here in the login form, right? What was your constructor expecting? A page instance, right? Where is it? Here, right? Just pass it like, and you are good. Now what you will do is you wanted to do all these operations, right? So you will do what? You will say login form dot go to, right? And go to would be called, this is one method, okay. This would be await. Will it be an await? Yes, it will be an await, because your method over here, right, returns you what? Async, right? It's a type of thing, and it returns you a promise of void. Okay, promise of void. So await would be coming here. After this, right, you want to fill the username, password, and this. So let's copy the method name, fill username. So you will say await login form dot fill password. Okay, let's say fill password, and you will provide a password as password here. Fill username, and it would be, what is the value? This is the value. Let's cut it out and place it here. And the last thing is to make a click. Long dot click submit button. Okay. Now, if you see, right, you were able to automate or use all this, right? And let me remove this. Now, once you do this, right, the transition will happen, and you will have to do this. For doing this, you will create a home page. Okay. So let me do it very quickly. I will create. I'll just create one variable over there. Export default class home form, and here what we need is we need to have a constructor call which will accept a page of page type, and we'll have one variable called private. We'll have what is the link? Let's say product link. Okay, product link, and it is of type what? It is a type of locator. Not this locator. Okay, locator here. Great. Now, if you needed page also, so let's quick fix import from here. Great. And here what we'll do is we'll also create a page locator here also. Sorry, page variable here also. Page is of type page. Great. And what we'll do is we'll say this dot page equals to page, and we'll say this dot product link equals to page. Sorry, this dot page dot locator, and we'll feed in the value which are being placed here. Which is here, right? Inside this. Great. So we got the value, right? So our constructor is there, and the last method which we'll do is we'll like to click on here, right? So I'll create a method called public click product link. And since it will be an async thing, let me do it here, and I'll say await this dot product link dot click. Okay, so this is also done. Let's create here. Let's come back here, and if I have to do this, I will come up and say let home form equals to new home form page, right? And I will do what? I will say home form await home form dot click product link. That's it. Now see how clean your code will look like. First of all, although there are we have not done method chaining, we have not done anything else, but see how clean your code is already looking like. Okay, you can able to read through the code, and all the things are placed under the respective files. Okay, now if you see, right, we can still do a lot of savings, right? If you see, right, just to do operation of filling the username and password and login, right, we create separate methods. Now it depends on your needs. What I can also do here is I can go to the login form, and instead of doing this in 4 different steps, right, I can do it in a single step. Okay, but let's say I want to do it in 3 separate steps only. But even for that, right, I have to write it separately like this. If I have to, let's say I'm expecting it to work like this. Await login form. Then I want this to have dot and will able to run this, which is called as method chaining. I want to do something like this in a single line. Right? In a single line, I want to do this. How can I do this? You can do this if this method, right? If this method was chained, you would have done the provision for method chaining. What is method chaining? As of now, let's look. What does fill username returns you? It returns your promise void. Imagine this that this fill username method returns you the reference to the login form. Let's say it was returning you promise login form. If that was the case, if you would have done a dot after this, what all methods would you be able to see? All the methods coming from login form, correct?
Yes.
This is what you are
Yes.
getting from here also, right? If I do a dot here, you got the same thing here only, right? You did this and you see a dot. You see all the methods here. So you will see something like this only. And this can help you to do method chaining. So now to achieve the method chaining, we'll do one thing now. And what is that? We'll go to the login form class. Here, as you can see, right? We are doing all this to do the method chaining within the class. You do what? You just say return this. And here, just make sure that you mention here that you're returning what? You're returning the login form. You will say returning login form. Here it would not say this because you're returning this. You will have to say promise, right? Promise of login form. And we are good. Now, if you go back and check this, you see all the methods, right? So we'll do that part. Let me just first complete this, right? So you will do something like this. So you will have to do this in the methods which can be changed like this. Now click submit, right? Now click submit. After you do submit, right? Do you think you need to get access to the login form? Because once you click right the submit button, it will not be there on that page. It will then move to the next page, right, which is the home page in the positive scenario, right? So doing something like this will not help you. If I do something here like this, right, will not help me. I need to do something else here, because if I do because this operation is something which can result into a transition of the page itself. From page 1 you will go to second page, right, page 2. So for that, right, we will also do method chaining, but I call that concept as a page chaining, right? Let's see what I mean. If you see right now, right, if I say fill username password and I do a dot, I can see fill password. You can click on it and you will have to pass the password like this, right? Now the way things works in JavaScript, you cannot put 2 methods like just like this, right? You will have to do you will have to put the one thing into the one bracket, and then after this, right, you'll have to write await again, and now this is your operation. Now if you do a dot here, right, and you say click submit, again it would put this entire thing into the brackets, and then you can access the next method. This is how JavaScript works. We have the same behavior was in the Playwright, in the WebDriver also. Now if you do this, right, you have to do what? Await here in the last time, and you do not need any of these. Let me remove them. Now see how cool it looks like a single line doing all the stuff, right? Okay, great. So now once you now click on submit, right, you will have to again go to the next line and say home form click product link, right? Why can't you just do something like this on this? Tell me. If I want to do something like this over here, why does it complain? Because this click product link does not exist on the login form, right?
Yes.
It exists on the home form. So if that is the case, then the solution could be that if somehow this click submit returns you the home form, right? So this will return you what? The object of the home form, and then if you do a dot, you will be able to get this, right? So this click submit in the end should return you home form, right? As of now, what does it return? It returns you void, right? What I will do is I will come here And once I'm done with the click, right, I will do what? I will say return new home form. And here I will pass the page object, this dot page. Getting it? And you will do what here? You will say promise home form. And now if you go back and look at things, it will work. It's let me just retry again. If you do this, you see you get the method click product link, and you are done. And you can say what? Await. Okay, so here, right? So let me run this. So await. Let me just do this, and let's run the code. Let's see whether it works or not. But to run this, I will have to tell right on which to run. So what I will do is this is Chrome test. Oh, I have disabled all these. No, these are enabled, right? Okay, so let me run this. So what I will do is I'll go to my code. I will say npx playwright test. The project name is what? Project against which I want to run is, I think it's called Chrome. Called Chrome test. Okay. Chrome test. And what do I want to do more? Nothing. I think this is fine. Let's see whether it runs or not. Okay, running one test using one worker. We can see thread going on the screen. You can see, right? It clicked and it worked, right? So it landed up on the right page. Very seamless, right? Right. So you can see the power of page object model, right? And when I was talking about, just a second. If you, oh yeah, what is it? Okay, now if you see here, right? This part, if you chain the methods of the same classes, right? These are called like method chaining. But when you start to chain, if you want to chain the methods of the other pages also, right? Although the concept is called method chaining only because you're chaining method one after another by using dot dot. But what I call it as state chaining because here you're accessing the method of the next page. Okay. And this is how it has to be done. And similarly, you will design all your pages. You will pick up the pages, design it like this, and have all the pages with you on this side. And you can see, right, based on our configuration, it was able to find the spec file and run it accordingly from the config thing. So this is how you will design all your page object models, right, for different pages and work accordingly. Any doubt on this part?
No, Akhil, quite clear.
Right, and again, this is no difference from what we learn in WebDriver.io. There we might have done something else with respect to the locator based on how WebDriver.io takes them up, right? But overall concept is same.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we are good for today. We'll cover the remaining things tomorrow. So tomorrow, right, what we'll do is we'll try to create form files for the remaining pages and try to cover it up, and we will see, right, where we'll end up. And by Friday, I think we should be able to get into the DAO layer to get that. Okay, but this is how the structure of the framework would be, and this is how the interaction would be taking place.
Yes.
Okay, right.
Got it.
If no other queries, yeah, Kiran, please go ahead.
Just one question. So it's like while we set username, password, and base URL, is it good approach to use a JSON file or the .env file?
env file, right? Env file is you can use, right, if you want to do for, let's say for something, right, which is configurable per environment. Let's say, right, let's say you want to use it for, let's say for Jenkins, it would, let's say you want to run things on CI, and there the credentials used would be something else. If you're running on local, then it would be something else, right? So in those cases, depending on your different environments, you can specify it, right? Different variables. Also, environment variables are good enough, right, for at least this case, let's say password. But for the other cases, which are like, let's say you want to give the name of the product, right? So giving the name of the product itself should not be placed in the environment variables. As the name says, environment variables, right? So they should be specific to which are like environment specific things, right? And which you want to control across everything, right? Across all the pages. Otherwise, I would say JSON is the best choice in case of JavaScript frameworks, because it can natively be converted to a JavaScript object and you can access the values from it.
Right.
Okay, so environment variable use only for sensitive things or things which are like vary, right, depending on different environments being where it is running on.
Okay. So let's say for passwords, we can set it in environment and then Git ignore that environment file. So it cannot go to Git, and then we can use CI to inject the secrets like that, right?
Absolutely correct. When what you can do is you can also create a script inside your package.json, right? And what you can do is when someone you can create a script, or you can pass on that environment variable from the command line, right? Directly. So you will inject that variable, right, from whatever CI server you use, and on the fly from whatever data source that password is residing in, it can be picked up and passed into that CLI command, and it will run accordingly.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, great, right? So we'll take this forward, but again, this is if you see, right, will not take much time in designing a framework this time. So maybe in couple of classes itself, our framework would be ready, and then the last part would be on the CI/CD thing, which will take care maybe in the next week. Okay, okay, great, right? So okay, any other query?
Not from my side.
No. Good.
Okay, great. Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Let's meet tomorrow. Have a
Thank
nice day. Bye.
Thanks.
Next.